sometimes one of the partners will make a little comment about fix it good for me or make it extra tight, and I feel like I'm gonna lose my mind when they say stuff like that. And number one, it's minimizing how hard labor is. Like, either saying it's not too hard if she pushed really easily. The other day, a while ago, someone was like, oh, you had a C-section, you took the easy way out. I don't feel like whether someone had C-section, vaginal delivery, you cannot, if you do not go through this, make a comment about how
Yuri Somas. Oklema Somas.
So yeah,
Yuri
to answer her question, being on labor delivery for a long time
Ombis.
definitely makes me.
If you work on labor and delivery, does it affect?
And so, have you heard of the 4B movement in Korea?
Yeah, it's something with, it's a reaction of women to
Yes.
sexist men
Yes.
and this patriarchy that's really
Yes.
endemic to Korean culture.
Yes, and so they're refusing to have children. They don't want to do it anymore, and you can't force them, right? And so what's happening now is the population in Korea, I think it was either last year or the year before, I can't remember, forgive me, I don't remember the genesis of it, when it started. But for once, their population of people outweighed who was born.
Arai
That hasn't happened in the history of Korea. Why? Because women are
Alamas.
refusing to have kids until they're treated equally and fairly. And turns out women are a lot more essential than you would think, than men believe them to be. Because now
Bombis.
the government is panicking because they're like, what are we going to do? Like, we're going to die out
Bombis.
unless women decide to start having kids again.
Bombis.
And they're refusing until they are awarded
Bombis.
the exact same rights and respect that men are
Bombis.
awarded in their society. And so when people are asking how I feel, I say,
Bombis.
period. Whatever gets them to listen, bitch, I don't give a
Bombis.
fuck. If it means I'm clocking out, good luck having kids
Bombis.
without me, right? Then in a lot of indigenous culture,
Bombis.
there's a lot of beliefs that are
Bombis.
spread around about hunter-gatherer, right? Like men are hunters, women are
Bombis.
gatherers. A lot of indigenous culture has
Bombis.
proven that wasn't the case. What happened was they would leave women behind because
Bombis.
they believed women to be far more essential to their tribe than men.
Bombis.
They're like, I could lose 1,000 men, it wouldn't matter. But if I lose 2 women, my tribe
Bombis.
dies without them. So
Bombis.
they worshipped women to the point where sometimes
Bombis.
they thought women were deities. A lot of times they thought trans people or intersex people were
Bombis.
deities in indigenous culture, which is why a lot of them have third or
Bombis.
fourth genders, like mine. So to believe
Bombis.
that men are inherently superior historically
Bombis.
is not true. Like, men have just
Bombis.
been given far more opportunity. Can you imagine if we
Bombis.
started the race at the same time? Who knows?
Bombis.
And to think too, there are many different, like for example, Albert
Bombis.
Einstein, there's a lot of stories and
Bombis.
reports now that his wife was actually the one doing a lot of the
Bombis.
math that he's known for. So can you imagine how
Bombis.
many things, because whenever I bring that up, men who are
Bombis.
awful, they'll say shit like, well, what about the roads? What about cell
Bombis.
towers? What about this? What about that? What's funny
Bombis.
is when they're like, what about buildings? Have you ever built anything? I haven't. Turns out you're just as fucking useless as me, right? Because we're both iPad babies at home. What are we talking about? Neither of us do construction. So who gives a fuck, right? And so, have you heard of the 4B movement in Korea?
Yeah, it's something with, it's a reaction of women to
Yes.
sexist men
Yes.
and this patriarchy.
So ICE has some fun new tech to track us using our phones.
Okay, now it's concerning. If you don't know who this little girl is, she's been going viral on Twitter lately. This girl is the fucking Grim Reaper. And if I was a Patriots and Bears fan, I would be very, very concerned right now. Ever since the playoffs have
Bombis.
started, she is 0-8 currently on her predictions. Every single pick she has made has ended piss poorly. It's crazy. You know how hard that is to do? Going 0-8 on your predictions? That's just as hard as going 8-0. Now, some of you might just be saying, all right, yeah, that's funny and all, but this is the part that's fucking with me. There was only one game she has predicted in the last 2 weeks where she flip-flopped her prediction, and it was this one. She originally picked the Broncos, but then switched to pick the Bills, and the Bills lost. But in the same game, Bo Nix, the starting quarterback of the Broncos, just got his season ended by breaking his fucking ankle. She picked the Bears to beat the Rams tomorrow,
Okay,
and the
ma.
Patriots to beat the Texans tomorrow. You guys are so
Alamas.
like, it's brutal, too. Like, she ended Mike Tomlin's career and broke Bo Nix's ankle. She's a fucking demon, dude. I wouldn't be surprised if the Angel of Death himself just takes Caleb Williams' soul tomorrow and kills him on the spot. Okay, now it's concerning. If you don't know who this little girl is...
Kirk died on September 10th. By September 11th, literally the next morning, there were t-shirts for sale. Like, can we sit with that for a second? A man was assassinated at a college campus during a public event, and before most people even processed what happened, there was a fully operational online store selling commemorative merchandise. Less than 24 hours later, Turning Point USA, the organization that he founded, launched at least 6 different t-shirt designs within a first few days, all priced at $35. One had a drawing of
Alamos.
Kirk on it with his fist raised and a Bible verse. Another showed his
Alamos.
family walking hand in hand with a literal halo photoshopped over his head. And then there was one that said, "Well done, good and faithful servant," with his birth date and
Alamos.
death years like a tombstone. Another said, "This is our turning point," which, I'm sorry, but turning his death into a slogan, some moments do not need merch. This and the fondling of JD Vance's head are two of those moments, if you ask me. And this wasn't some sloppy, rushed job. These were professionally designed products. Product descriptions were written, everything ready to go, which means people saw this and moved quickly to capitalize on it. Then they held his memorial service, at State Farm Stadium, which is the place where the Arizona Cardinals play football. It holds 73,000 people
Somas.
for mega events. They had Donald Trump, JD Vance, all there. Over 277,000 devices were connected through geotagging. And it was a rally. And at this rally memorial, which again happened less than 2 weeks after he died, people were already wearing the merch. The shirts had been designed, product shipped, delivered in under 11 days. The logistics alone are horrifying. And then the memorial, the Turning Point USA announced, because of overwhelming support, merchandise orders could take up to 12 weeks to ship. 12 weeks, that's how high the demand was. They were overwhelming orders that they had a 3-month backlog. For context, that's the kind of shipping delay you see when Taylor Swift albums drop, not when somebody gets murdered. They ran ads and knew exactly who these people they were advertising.
Okay.
People who followed conservative pages, people
Rock
who had
it.
previously bought political merchandise, people who
Okay.
were likely to be emotionally vulnerable about Kirk's death. This death became a product launch really quick. When your memorial has a 12-week shipping backlog, why does it feel more like a capsule drop than a funeral? It probably came, maybe, I don't know, from a genuine place of wanting more money for themselves and to enrich their life so they can indoctrinate kids. Using promotional materials that, to me, looked like a Coachella lineup. Kirk died on September.
What did you DM me? A lot.
My
All right, class, it's movie day.
Rock it.
I didn't fucking.
Dude, come on, let's go.
Somas.
One hand, I fucking drowned. Can you raise your hand, please, sir? I loved you in Scary Movie. I didn't see that. Well, there's not much there, but I didn't see that.
Shake it up.
Shake it up. And it's got a good grip. And really, and I mean, like, it's two fingers, which you got a built-in flashlight right there, dude.
Those clothes in the basket in the bedroom clean.
Yes.
Okay, the cat's not from down.
Give me a minute.
What's your lady? Friend. Okay. Shake on it.
Oklema.
Holy shit. So you got fake,
Bombas.
I presume. What size did you start and go to?
I got a 240cc.
240cc. Is that a Yamaha? What the fuck are you talking about? 240cc? Who did it? Travis Pastrana? What do you mean? What cup size did you start with? A to B? What the fuck? You went from flat to flat-ish, I guess? I don't know.
Anyone else, please?
Yeah, anybody A to F's in here? Like a real woman? I want your tits to look like those red balls out front of Target. Dude, this is history in the making. Oh my god.
Alamos.
Go! And haven't once tried to fucking get a little Elon bust action never once. So
Alamos.
WD-40 is lube, or like how does that man? Has he ever fucking one of my favorite Call of Duty maps, busting that shit, you know? Oh! They couldn't have made the fingers a little bit thicker, dude. Feels like getting fingered by a number 2 pencil, dude. That shit is. Are you blind? But I want to see your license. You can't even see your fucking license. What are you talking about? What does your license say?
I can't drive after dark.
But isn't it always dark for you?
Bombas.
Seeing right now.
Brown blur.
Darai.
Brown blur.
Bombas.
Piece of shit on stage.
Long story short, I said I'd give you the best head in New England.
You said you give me the best head in New England, talking about some clam chowder. God damn! You said you would give me the best head. I guess I'm doing a meet and greet tonight.
How did I direct this?
You brought your baby? You paid for a ticket? I know him? I feel like I'm on Maury right now. Let me meet the baby.
Evil Toddy.
My God!
You can pick him up.
I can pick him up?
Yeah.
I don't know if you want that. And does he know his father? Does he? What should his first word be? Subaru? It's a guy, not a lesbian. Jesus.
Darai. Ibortare. Somas.
Both of us. College roommates here? No fucking way. Get him out! Get him out! Bro, come up here, dude! Okay, let me ask you this. Did I get any bitches in San Jose? Maybe like 1, 2. No, I get bitches. They just went to a different college, you know?
Gmail is being sued, so if
And yes, I am going to call you a pretty girl because I don't care that you're wearing boy clothes. You're my pretty girl, bitch. Yeah, that's right. Yeah, that's right. And yes, I am going to call you a pretty girl because I don't care that you're wearing boy clothes.
I have a ton of gay porn, actually. He knows. I'm a major yaoi freak. But only if it's manga and anime. Because I'm just a pervert like that. But we're not talking about me, we're talking about you. I have a ton of...
Hey,
Cooperation to the.
If you don't know who this bitch is, this wackadoodle nutcase cosplaying as an SS sergeant in Nazi Germany is Gregory Bavino, Trump's trench-coated immigration enforcer. Now, some people saw him show up at the Minneapolis protests, and they were like, this seems kinda Nazi-coded. Yeah, because it is. A historian confirmed that, yeah, this is common military gear, but Bavino can't be unaware of the queer association, which means the jacket is a message. And shocker to absolutely nobody. The Trump administration is currently using white neo-Nazi nationalist propaganda language. DHS ran a recruitment saying, "We'll have our home again." That's a slogan from the Proud Boys and white extremist songs. We'll have our home again? Are you referring to the UK or some far-off country in Europe? As last time I checked, the only people in the United States that should be saying, "We'll have our home again," are the indigenous individuals we stole this land from. Another video used Bible quotes, war imagery, Nazi-style typography, and it was set to the song "Everybody Wants to Rule the World," a song about the dangers of power, not glorifying. Then the Department of Labor posted, "Trust the plan, trust Trump, one homeland, one people, one heritage." That is QAnon language. That is fascist language. Like that's not a democracy. So when Bavino leads ICE blitzes across LA, Chicago, New Orleans, now Minneapolis, calling himself the commander at large and branding his strategy as turn and burn, that's not enforcement. That's him flexing how much power he has with the weapons at his disposal. And now we're currently seeing this constantly. ICE smashing car windows, they're storming malls. They even used a 5-year-old child as bait to lure his family out of their home. Liam, a 5-year-old taken by ICE, is now in a detention center in Texas with his father. And JD Vance was like, "Well, what are they supposed to do?" And then we have Bavino being like, "Well, we're definitely the experts at handling children." Sir, you both look and sound like absolute nightmares. You bitches are the embodiment of the Babadook. So if anyone ever asks you, is this fascism? Your response to them should be, yes. Yes, the fuck it is. And that should scare you. If you don't know who this bitch is.
Alright, you ready?
Dude, no. Have you ever wondered why you always forget your dream?
I just love my dog. My brother told me how to taste the bag. I just love one warning,
This
is the soundtrack to life in Minneapolis.
Hombis.
Word has spread of ICE
Rogan?
immigration agents patrolling this area, and a community of activists spring into
Thomas.
action. This black SUV in front is another car that people suspect of being ICE, and that's why you hear the beeping and the whistles again. A network of volunteers communicate via a secure messaging platform.
Can I get a plate check on Kilo 77? Florida plate?
That one is confirmed.
Alright.
Modelled on a police dispatch call.
They were both traveling together. The Florida expedition just took a U-turn.
Just right next to the lights. We're riding along with one of them.
Rogan?
Within half an hour, we're surrounded by a team of ICE officers. This is our first interaction.
Hombis. Oklema? Zalkanta.
Just approached the car, and they said if we in this car continue to invade them, that they'll break the windows.
We're gonna take you out of the vehicle. We're gonna forcefully take you out of the vehicle. We're gonna take you out of the vehicle. You're on camera, okay?
A while later, they're back again. Still, no laws have been broken. 3,000 ICE officers have been sent to Minneapolis, some of them with only a couple of months' training. We're driving when we see a woman and tell her to stop. ICE agents jump out of their car and pursue her down the middle of a main road. Excuse me, sir, do you have a warrant for this lady's arrest? Excuse me, do you have a warrant for this lady's arrest, sir?
So you don't have an ID?
She tells officers she's an American citizen. They ask her to show her ID. When she can't produce one, she's frog-marched to a police vehicle and taken away. The woman was released later that day. Lawsuits accuse ICE of racial profiling. Nearby, in a residential area. Police officers suddenly stopped their car, blocking a main road opposite a community centre. Sir, have you got quotas that you're trying to meet here? Do you have specific targets in mind, sir?
Hilary.
Just what a crowd at the moment. These agents called up an
Hombres.
intersection.
Oklema.
Furious that they're here. For some here,
Hombres.
it feels like ice is everywhere.
Hombres.
This is a community to resist.
Lord Dylan, are you ready for the trial set before you today?
Yeah.
What kind of chunkage makes a super stew?
Yeah, that's a great question. Yeah, there needs to be some hardiness to it.
Yeah.
There needs to be some girth in there.
Say that.
I don't think that's the right.
Teen Wolf!
And just put the whole thing in your mouth. And put like your lips around it.
My lips around it.
You just eat the lollipop. And
This guy's told me I'm an illegal immigrant even though I was born.
This is 12-year-old Max. Max and his soccer team had just completed and won a 2-month-long soccer tournament. But instead of celebrating that momentous accomplishment, Max was reduced to tears while describing to his mother the terrible and hateful words he says another child used to bully and harass him.
He said Trump is gonna get me and send me back to where I used to live, and I was born in America. I don't live anywhere else.
As a child of immigrants who was born here in the United States, as a kid who was bullied for looking and being different,
Hilary.
and also as a new dad, watching Max tearfully
Ibo
try
Tade.
to make sense of what had just happened to him broke my heart in a million pieces. What was essentially gut-wrenching is listening to Max trying to apply some type of adult logic and understanding to what was being said.
I just don't get why kids like to say those stuff. It makes me really sad that how they just control their power like that. They think they have power, and it's just not nice.
Sorry, Max.
We spoke to Max's mom after she posted this video on Facebook, and she told us that she did not do this to create controversy, but to remind people, quote, how deeply our words and actions can affect one another, especially our children. She shared it to remind us, and again, these are her words, kindness matters, and it starts with how we treat one another. She told us that her hope is
Yuri?
that people who see this video and who see Max crying that has just been levied against him, he hopes that people will be encouraged to reflect on the sentiment
Hombres.
that we need to be more compassionate to one another. Max's mom told us she believes that, and again, this is a quote, the division and hate we see in our country are clearly reaching our children, and that's heartbreaking.
And this guy's control.
Erica Curtis Grifter Griever Tour kicked off this week in Riverside at a mega church, which is, Riverside, by the way, is very much not in LA,
Para
no
ahí.
matter how hard Riverside tries to claim it. And naturally, this whole show was
Hombres.
headlined by a pastor who is currently named in a federal child sex trafficking lawsuit out of Romania. Nothing says I care more about my bag more clearly than that. I operate
thank you.
very clearly. Whatever decision is in front of me, it will go through a very strict lens. Is this going to bring me closer to heaven, or is it going to bring me further away from heaven? So already things are off to a great start. And when Erica is not on a stage at a megachurch, she's on Liz. And she's always talking about how her daughter is excited to see Daddy in heaven, which could be very touching, except what she's leaving out. And what she's leaving out is the 10 million life insurance policy check, the 10 million donations, and the fact that she just inherited an $85 million a year conservative empire built on the backs of grifters. Somehow, no one's really talking about how Charlie Kirk's death became the most profitable thing he ever did. So we will today. And real quick, I'm Lauren Pretra. This is Willa Pretra. Please take a moment to make sure you're subscribed. We have got to maintain our lead on Katie Miller, who, if you're new here, is the wife of Stephen Little Bitch Miller, the white nationalist from Santa Monica, behind all of the ICE terror and all the kidnappings of really dangerous 5-year-old Minneapolis. And so, onward. So, let's start from the top. Charlie Kirk started Turning Point USA as a teenager in his parents' Illinois basement. I'm gonna own the libs on campus energy. And by the time he got shot and killed at age 31 at one of his own events on, of course, a college campus, he turned it into a $500 million empire. In just 2024 alone, there was $85 million in revenue. They've got 500,000 donors. A 50 to 100-year plan to radicalize college kids, and more shell companies than a Russian oligarch. But the wildest part isn't really what Charlie built, it's what happened after he died. America Curtis, grifter, griever, tour kicked off this weekend riverside at a mega church. Came on this church, which is came on this app the other day to see the free promotion.
If you don't like what's been happening in America over the last year, but haven't spoken up for whatever reason, I would say that now is a good time to reconsider. I've heard people with a lot of reach and influence say that the best way to handle Trump's second term is to just wait him out. In his first term, say that it didn't make a huge difference then. His white personality. Politics in the last year has somehow become a bit more horrifying and exhausting and depressing. If you can live your life without paying too much attention to the insanity that hasn't really affected you yet, why bother? I understand this. I really do. Trump is a lame duck president that most Americans, around 60% of us, don't support. And he keeps getting less popular. His party is currently on track for a poor midterm performance, which would make him even less powerful, less relevant, and unable to ever pass another law again. Which makes it tempting to just keep your head down, wait until November, and hope for the best. In the meantime, maybe you some causes or relief funds. Maybe that feels more effective and certainly more comfortable than pissing off certain friends and family and colleagues and followers by getting all political. I get it. But here's the thing. We've only finished the first quarter of Trump's presidency.
Erectus.
We have 3 years. Midterms are still 9 months away. And things are moving very fast. Faster than I think most people realize. Stop! In just 1 year, America has become a place where paramilitary squads rampage through the streets of cities that didn't vote for the president. A president who has given these federal agents, heavily armed and often masked, free reign to do whatever they want, without any legal consequences. Take you away from your family at gunpoint, grab you off the street, throw you in the back of a van, break down your door and raid your home without even getting a judge to sign a warrant. So having the right papers will not necessarily protect you. Being in this country legally will not necessarily protect you. You may not get to make a phone call or meet with a lawyer. You may be held for days or weeks in a crowded detention center 1,000 miles from home, where people are sick and dying from rampant disease and rotten food and a lack of medical care, where people are routinely beaten and abused. If you are an American citizen, these paramilitary squads can still arrest you based on your accent or your skin color or just a hunch that you might be someone they're looking for. They can arrest you if you're at a peaceful protest, and if you just happen to be walking by one or driving through. They can tackle you to the ground, put you in a chokehold, beat you until you're bloody and bruised. They can hit
Yuri?
you with tear gas or a pepper ball or, as we saw with Renee Good, real bullets. And they can
Thomas.
paralyze you like this even if you're not resisting in any way. They can offer to show proof that you're a
Logan?
citizen. It can take hours and even days for the federal agents to set you free. Usually
Thomas.
with no charges, no explanation, and no fear they'll be held accountable for what they did to you. This is happening. In Minnesota, this has happened to a Purple Heart combat veteran whose head they smashed on the ground and then denied a lawyer for hours. A city snowplow driver who is legally authorized
Bombas.
to work here and has no criminal record
Bombas.
is now rotting in a barbaric detention camp in El Paso, where his wife is desperately trying to get him his medication. A detention camp where the guards just killed a man. This has happened to an off-duty police officer whose car they boxed into a corner before pointing their guns at her, demanding to see her papers, and then knocking her phone out of her hand before she could show them her badge. This has happened to a disabled woman who they dragged from her car while she was trying to see her doctor. To 4 Native Americans who they kidnapped off tribal lands, 3 of whom are still missing.
And one of them has been released, but they couldn't locate the other 3.
To an elderly citizen who was marched out of his home in his underwear into the freezing cold. To a pregnant woman who they pulled across the street by her arm while she screamed. This is happening to children in Minnesota right now. Children. The paramilitary squads are showing up in high school parking lots. Teenagers are being taken without their parents. There's a 5-year-old little boy who was in a Minneapolis classroom with his friends just last week. And now, he and his father, who came here legally, are in a detention camp in Texas while his mother tries to explain to his middle school brother why their family is missing. And the response we get from the vice president is, what are we supposed to do? Leave the kid out?
What are they supposed to do? Are they supposed to let a 5-year-old child freeze to death?
Security, she couldn't express a hint of feelings toward the family of Abe, who was driving home from a basketball game when agents exploded tear gas into their car that caused their 6-month-old infant to stop
Situation because of violent protesters that were impeding law enforcement operations.
This is happening. Those are all stories just from this last week, from one state. But those stories are everywhere. The videos are everywhere. And each week there are more, not less. They've been multiplying since last spring, really, when the government's deportation machine kicked into high gear. I remember the fear here in LA, but then DC was worse than LA, and Chicago was worse than DC. And Minneapolis is worse than Chicago, and now they've arrived in Maine. And they have yet to spend most of their gigantic new budget that's the size of the Israeli militaries, which is why we could really the government and its paramilitary squads are powerful, but they are not popular. They do not have the support of most Americans. That is not actually what most people voted for. And a big reason they're so unpopular, the reason that immigration went from one of Trump's strongest issues to one of his weakest, is because people who've experienced this madness and witnessed these incidents have decided to speak out and hold up their phones and share these stories and take to the streets. And now the pushback isn't just coming from protesters and activists and politicians, but from federal judges and churches and schools and hospitals and local media, and now even local law enforcement. Weeks ago, a group of youth leaders in Minnesota called for an economic recall to protest the government's militarized occupation of Minneapolis. One day of no work, no school, no shopping. The idea then got support from labor unions and a bunch of community organizations, and then hundreds of local businesses that all agreed to shut down for the day. They called it the Day of Truth and Freedom, and it's taking place as I'm recording this on Friday, January 23rd. I can't predict how it'll go or the impact it'll have, but I can imagine it's not an easy thing to do for everyone who's participated. It's not easy for most people to shut down their business for the day, or miss work, or figure out health care. It's not easy to be part of any kind of protest when the government's already investigating the people who represent you and terrorizing your state with 3,000 federal agents. It's a risk, and it's a sacrifice, and the thousands of people participating are just hoping it will matter. And that's what we're right.
Yuri?
I get why a lot of people with big platforms and influential voices in all kinds of fields want to stay away from politics, especially now. And I don't think that in order to make a difference, everyone needs to declare their partisan loyalties or call Trump a dictator or go lead the next protest. But I do think that speaking up will matter. Taking action will matter. Because it will tell the people who know you and follow you and respect you that it's okay for them to speak out too. And then maybe they'll share these stories, or organize to help their neighbors, or put pressure on their elected officials, or join people in the streets. If nothing else, saying something now, doing something now, will begin to rebuild some of what we've lost in this country over the last decade. Our humanity. Our ability to see someone else's pain and suffering and struggle and fear as our own, even if we're not like them. Even if we're not what they are. Because rebuilding that sense of empathy and decency is the only thing that has the potential to tie us together again and get us through this crisis. I don't like what's been happening in America over the last year. I haven't spoken up for whatever reason.
Listen, I ain't telling you to pick. I have a right arm on my collar, darling. I am beautiful, and I know I'm beautiful.
Oh no.
Rogan? Hombres.
Stuff like that.
Outside of here need to pay attention because it's coming to a city near you. It heard that there would be a veteran-led protest across the street from the Wilkes-Barre building. At some point, a bunch of military formation that was across the street into an entranceway parking lot, taking photos, and it was tackled by 2 or 3 agents in green to the ground, face down. They started screaming at me, "We got you because we saw you bear spraying your people." And I said, "No, you didn't." They're screaming at me to put my hands behind my back. They set up a tear gas canister very close to me. I could literally barely breathe. Honestly, I didn't know what was going to happen to me. If I passed out, they'd bring me into that building, and how long would I be in there for? Would I ever see my cameras again? And so I decided to throw them, and I yelled my name out, and I yelled, "I can't breathe," so someone could grab it and save the images, because I felt like what I had photographed there should be seen. So kind of locked eyes, John and I, press supposed to stay neutral, but in that half a second or two, I just thought, I'm gonna grab this and then do my best to get some images that covered it. There was an image of an ICE agent trying to grab John's phone out of his hand. Somewhere about that time, a hand came around and inches away from my eye, sprayed it with air spray. I literally couldn't see anything. My eyes were just in so much pain. Then they picked me up, handcuffed me, locked me into the building. Once they finally released me, I waited until I got my camera before I was comfortable going to the hospital because I didn't know who had it. I had multiple wounds on my
no. Thomas.
Pepper bullets, chemical burns in my eye. I didn't look at any photos again for several days. I actually was I think it's unlike anything I've seen.
I can.
Aggression somehow against people who are using their right to speak. It appears like they can do what they want. There's no repercussion. Happening here. You know, it has been and it is, and it seems to be getting to a boiling point. Just got an alert right now from a rapid response network that maybe there's something nearby. Lots of people are having much worse experiences with the agents than I am, like their dad being torn out of their arms and dragged away, or the little kids that are being grabbed. That photo really isn't about me. It's about freedom of the press, for one, people's freedom themselves. How do you fight back against this? It deserves to be seen what's going on. And people outside of here need to pay attention because it's coming to a city near you. Veteran-led protests.
You've heard from closeted players.
Yeah.
Closeted hockey players?
Hockey players, football players, basketball players.
Rogan?
Sometimes they're just reaching out privately through like Instagram, and those ones are the ones that really just kind of hit you and go, oh, so this is a fun show and it's celebratory, but also sometimes it's just hitting people right in the nose.
Another unarmed civilian was shot today by ICE. 8 ICE agents were trying to apprehend the man. 4 of them had him pushed to the ground, and they jumped on top of him and started punching him and hitting him and kneeing him. In the midst of all that, I guess somebody's gun went off. And the second one person's gun went off, which is unclear whose gun it was. One ICE agent fired at him, then all the other ICE agents backed up and started firing at him. But it's alleged that he was unarmed.
Isn't this the problem with having untrained people have guns?
Well, this comes right after the Renee Good situation where almost the exact same thing happened. Where an ICE agent fired from the front window and then 2 more from the side of her car with the window rolled. After that happened, the White House called her a terrorist and Trump backed him up on calling her a criminal and saying she was in the wrong when that never should have happened. That ICE agent never got reprimanded. The weapons of the citizens. So what's going to be done about this? It's likely that they're going to come to ICE defense and say that people need to just comply. It's never been
the military, it would instantly be subject to military prison.
They've never been disciplined.
This is the problem, not disciplining your subordinates. We're gonna see this roll up,
or maybe people will just start complying more so this doesn't happen.
This is absolutely out of control.
But that's what this whole thing's about, is control. Unidentified men in masks and now pull out weapons on your Another unarmed.
You might have seen this video of ICE smashing out the windows of a little red hatchback in Minneapolis and violently arresting the people inside. One of the people in the car released a written statement on Facebook talking about not only how he was treated during his arrest, but also how immigrants are being treated as they're being deported. I want to read it to help raise awareness because it's insane, and everybody should know what's happening all across the country. Good morning. My name is Brandon Siglenza, and I am a U.S. citizen from Minneapolis. Yesterday, while doing legal observation, I stopped the cars with the They sprayed pepper spray into the vent of our vehicle. We held our hands in the air and told them we were not obstructing, that the car was in park, and they were free to drive forward and away. There was no active immigration raid. They returned to their cars and drove forward a bit, then decided to stop. They surrounded us, smashed the window of our car, opened the door. They were my friend and I charges of obstruction. I want to stop there and point out that they smashed the windows out on the car, even though they were unlocked. I was put in an unmarked SUV, separated from my friend. As I was put in the back seat, an ICE agent tore the whistle off my neck and said, "I'll be taking this. I might need it later." My phone was knocked out of my hand. As we drove away, I asked the driver and the passenger if they wouldn't mind buckling my seat. I asked them if I could have the handcuffs circulation. At one point, the passenger realized his own driver's license was in the back seat next to mine and tried to surreptitiously grab it without me seeing it. The federal building. I saw dozens of brown my charges and saw buses and vans. Filled with detainees.
Erected.
As we were let in, I noticed that the building was very busy. I got the impression that one of the 2 agents bringing me around was being trained. At multiple points throughout my stay, government agents were unable to open doors, not sure of where they were meant to be going, and overall confused and overwhelmed. They couldn't figure out how to use the building phones, or complained about a lack of cell service preventing them from checking the internet or making calls. The people in the cells were extremely scared. We heard people screaming, "Let me out," crying, and terrified screams. There were cells with as many as 8 people. I have no way of knowing how long they have been there, if they were allowed any contact with the outside world, or if they were staring at the ground with almost no energy. I was not allowed to talk to anyone imprisoned. I distinctly remember seeing a desperate woman. She was staring at the ground with her head in her hands, crying, homeless, while her friend or family member sat on a bathroom seat, observed by 3 men. My friend and I were put in
Ayo.
for USCs, which we eventually learned meant U.S. citizens, surrounded by